welcome to this podcast, Mission GJ. At this time, we have our Apostle Erickson Salazar. It is so good to be flowing here in the prophetic for the house. And it is a joy to talk about the prophetic and the apostolic this way again. And with all this process that we go through in the cleansing of the Holy Spirit, how the Father confronts us through the Word, how the prophetic influences each one of us. Recently I heard something about who we do things for, and that was very powerful. It impacted me a lot, Apostle, because it was a question that I had asked myself a long time ago of who I do things for. Furthermore, I went through a cycle of rebellion, a very tough cycle of rebellion. I didn't want to pay attention to anyone, any leader, because I had that spinning in my head. Oh no, but I'm doing it for men. I'm not doing it for God, so I'm not going to do anything. And I didn't even try to confront myself with the Word, saying, okay, so you acknowledge that you're doing things for men, now do them for God. No, that didn't even cross my mind. And it was something very, very hard. Apostle says, oh wow, it's so good that you had the chance to think about that. There are people that haven't had a chance to think about it because they're dead. And Lewis says, yes, wow. You had a moment of silence, huh? You have to have a moment of silence. Of course, Apostle says. And since you haven't quite clearly told us what you're talking about, are you talking about the monologue? And Lewis says, yes. Yes. Recently, a monologue was shared about who we do things for. And the different points that were detailed in the monologue were very powerful because it was like a retrospective of my whole life, of the quality of the things that I have done, have had in the ministry and the different missions that I've been sent out on, and it was very powerful. Apostle says, yes, it is important, and sometimes it's what we give the least importance to, is to know who I do things for. Hear me. As a ministry, we try to refocus people to understand where that knowledge begins or starts at. The fact that you give meaning and that you know where things come from. That is why our foundation is the Word, in order to understand. Because how deep it is when you spend your whole life doing all kinds of things, like the monologue says, that the world revolves around many demands, and what people have done with their lives is projected in terms of their studies, their jobs, businesses, families, and entertainment. You see, at the end, that's what people focus their lives on. But when I say focus, it's because they project that as the meaning of it all. You see what a paradox? So when you take all that and you put it in perspective, you ask yourself, and who do we do things for? Because everyone that kills themselves studying and working, having businesses, making money, having families, and enjoying lives, as they say, at the end, they went through this life and you don't even remember them. So that's something that makes us think and meditate. Wow, but at the end, people always say that what you enjoy is what you take with you. But at the end, that's not real. That's not life. Life is not simply... It's the whole topic of, can you imagine that just because you and I are having a conversation somewhere and we have a drink, that's life? That's so simple. Or that we went to Sweden and we went on a trip. Oh, we're enjoying life. Who said that? I've always taught in the midst of the fundamentals that the place does not make me, I make the place. You see how important? And you might say, where does that philosophy come from? Well, it's a philosophy with principles. And it teaches me clearly that I am before anything, that I am the center of creation. See how interesting? We light up candles to creation when you are the center. You are the objective for which God created all this whole world for you to reign above it. And you know what happened? That the world ended up reigning over us. So many believe that life is to be happy. And they seek happiness in creation when happiness itself doesn't come from creation. See how interesting? How you conjugate all this? And we try to be, basic, keep things simple. Which, if there was something that I loved about Jesus, was how simple he was. He wasn't deep. What he did is he blocked the mind of those that pretended to know. That's what he did. But those that would come, it's not that he was a big shot, it's that he was the guy. And the guy knew how to establish himself his authority over any principalities and any powers. That's why he was the man. So when we want to know where things come from, let's go to the Genesis, the beginning. And the beginning is founded in the Life Manual. This is where we give meaning to everything, because many say, oh, the Bible, it's a book written by man. My friend, I don't know who you think wrote it, but I'm going to tell you something. Find me any other manual that's going to teach you how to handle yourself in life, and I will leave the Bible aside. Because the point is that the word comes to motivate us to handle ourselves correctly, not to disgrace ourselves. So let's begin there. The monologues are designed in 5 sections. So there's an introduction, 3 points, and a conclusion. And right now, I'm breaking down the introduction, and I was saying initially that many believe that we are here on earth to be happy, and others thought it was for them to contextualize or be accepted socially. At the end, that's been the objective of human beings. I want to be happy, or I want to integrate myself socially to my environment. I want to be accepted by my environment. And everybody at the end, everything that they have done has been based on those 3 parts. Either I want to integrate myself socially, and Lewis says, and I thought that I was making something new up because I grew up with those points. I was seeking happiness and I was seeking to be socially accepted, and I thought I was doing it right. Apostle says at the end, everybody does the same. So you run yourself dry and you move yourself within that, let's call it a policy of life. And it doesn't have anything to do with for whom things needed to be done for. And it's so ugly that at the end you lose your life, all of a sudden. And what did you do? Well, I was very happy. And they're going to tell you, okay, send them to happiness, to hell. That's where those that were happy, or what did you do? I worked. I fulfilled all the social stereotypes. Oh, send them to the the social stereotypes dungeon, hell. Who teaches you to talk like that? Well, I'm gonna tell you, and I might get a little bit ahead of myself of developing the monologue, but since I feel like I started a little bit too aggressive, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the points. I feel like I started off a little too aggressive, but I'm gonna define where we're headed. But that was the introduction of the monologue, where we broke down that part that made you think who you do things for. It is important that every child, every young man, person, every adult, family knows clearly that yes, there is an objective in life, and that we cannot invert things or switch things around. Because we've done that is that we are how we are. Okay? And that's where the problem begins. If we know where the dilemma comes from, it comes from inverting what was established. And in the first point of the monologue, it says, because I want to go straight to the monologue and how it was developed, because it's very interesting how it was structured. Since they have a message, right, where you can go on a climax of the objective of the message. And in the first point, it said that we want to follow the models and human stereotypes that have been imposed on us without taking into account the most vital thing, that it is the principles established in the Life Manual. See how interesting? At the end, you followed all sorts of ideologies and philosophies and feelings. Instead, following what was established in the Life Manual. In few words, everything has to start with what's fundamented in the Word. This is interesting. That's why it is important to teach the Word to children, to adolescents, to adults. There are people that are losing focus of teaching their kids the biblical principles in their homes. Many want churches or religions to educate their children, but no. Everyone has to establish fundamentals within their homes to teach and form and structure, because nobody's going to educate your kids unless the one that has a legal right. Only the one that has the legal right will be able to impose. Only the one that has the legal right can impose. And it is sad that right now the environment and the world is taking advantage of the life of the youth and adolescents. It's just because parents don't want to be, those that have authority have taken freedom as too loosely, and they don't want to be responsible. Of course, and we need to be clear that if we don't establish and give a foundation, there's a word in Deuteronomy that says, repeat the word to your children at home, in the way, but always repeat the word. The word has to be repeated. That is why, as a ministry, one of the most troublesome things for those that arrive here is, why that word? And we have to comment all that? Yes, we work with the word. The word, we have it in the morning, in the middle of the day, at night, in the way, in the middle of the night. We're always sharing the word, because that is the way that we counteract the lies of the enemy. It is a good sign for that to happen, right? Lewis says. It's a good sign for that to happen, because even recently I saw a video on Instagram about a preacher that was saying that when an unbeliever or an atheist likes to be around Christians, that means that there's nothing that's confronting him, because the power of the word is for it to bring out and to bring discomfort in people, because it brings out the lie so the truth can be established. Apostle says that's why we cannot divorce ourselves from this truth, because this truth is what's going to teach us to live here on earth and then beyond. See how interesting? Everyone that wants direction, a correct direction, has to be guided by the word. And this word, so that you have an idea of how interesting this is, this word is the sword of the Spirit. It's the sword of the Spirit. In this life, we're fighting against supernatural forces that don't want us to connect to the principles. Why? Because they don't want us to manifest the purpose in us. Because since that opposing force doesn't want me to connect to my purpose, then they entertain me. And they entertain me, giving me delights and all sorts of colors and all ways. They entertain me so that I spend the time and waste the time, because at the end people don't understand that time is worth a lot. Time is gold, and you know what's happening with that time? You're taking it to entertain yourself in things that are not aligned to your purpose. See? Everything that you make time for, everything that you invest time in, that doesn't come in a direction within your chronogram, you are wasting that time, you're losing that time. See? It is such that your soul, you are selling it through your time. It's deep. People think that to waste time, it's you just wasted the time. No, you wasted it, but somebody else gained it. You waste the time. You waste the time, but somebody else gains your time. Every time you wasted that you could have invested it to multiply it in the kingdom, and for that to impact and multiply it. But you know what you did? You did like the guy that received 1 talent. You buried it, and since you buried it, which is synonymous of wasting time, then you is going to come again. That's going to come against you. Now everything makes sense, Lewis says. Now everything makes sense. Now everything makes sense. So there are people that say, oh, my life, there's nothing going on. I have a lot of problems and I don't know. The first thing you got to check is what has that person invested their time in? Movies, their ego, preparation, in so many things. But they didn't invest it in having the joy of salvation. So don't tell me that you have this up and down like a roller coaster, doing what you want to do, associating to fleshly things, and then you also want everything to flow in a powerful way. It's impossible. So in that, see, we already covered the first point. The second point of the monologue says, let's get to the second point. That's the word. The second point says we live in a world that is going very fast. And that's why the stress comes, known as a state of mental burnout, each time more present in the whole world and in everyone. The important thing is to differentiate between the vital and the superficial. Hear me. Why this is, because this is what's going to drain us. There are people that have gotten out of control as a product of misusing their time. They're misusing their time because they have focused on the superficial and they have not paid attention to the vital. So there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. Until we focus on the fundamental, we won't be able to accomplish a balance in health, mental, physical, and spiritual. If we don't move ourselves in dependence of the Spirit or in dependence of the Creator, because that's what happened. We turned our back to the Creator, and we focus on the creation, and that's what's going to destroy man, to follow creation. And at the end, everything that is contrary to the principles and the purpose of God is creation, and that creation is the one that has entertained you. Furthermore, there's nothing better than creation. Creation is everything that motivates us, what gives us happiness, joy. Wow. It's what keeps you entertained so that you don't have time for this boring stuff, this podcast and all this content. Give me something interesting. That's true. That's not interesting. Here we don't have fireworks and animations. That's why we try to speak to the house. We are sharing content for the house. We are feeding those of the house so that those of the house can influence others. You understand? 1 defeats 1,000, and I'm feeding 1,000, and then others join, and now we're going to defeat 10,000. But when all of us unite, we're going to defeat Hades. That is the way this is. So point number 3, it talks to us about how many times the existential crisis come to blame things on things when the problem were not things, but to not be able to contextualize with our nature. That is one of the things that human beings ends up stumbling with the same rock, and is that everyone is going to hit face forward with that existential emptiness, and they're going to call it many different names, and at the end that emptiness was product of you not connecting to your nature. And you know what your nature is? The one that says that you were created by a creator and you needed to go back and return to who created you. When you separate yourself from your creator, you're going to start to leak and to feel bad and I don't know what's happening. That is why people want to find a million alternatives. But when you tell them what they need to do, which is return to the creator, automatically they say, but isn't there another way? And I'm not talking about you, Luis. Don't get offended. Thank God you're not talking about me, Apostle. I'm not talking about you, Luis. So people seek 1,000 alternatives and they're going to stumble with the same rock and they're going to get the same answer and they're going to keep doing the same thing and getting the same answer. It's becoming, and they become obstinate where man wants to act independently of their creator. You're a product that you cannot go against your designer. We cannot. That is why it's not simply to fit in or to do it like other people do it. The correct thing is to do it for God the Father, the one who is the only one that has a purpose and can give integral meaning to everything. At the end of it all, we have to do things for the one who created us and designed us. If you do things for your husband or your wife, you're going to run yourself dry. For your kids, you're going to run yourself dry. For your boss, you're going to run yourself dry. For your pastor, you're going to drain yourself. I don't do things for anyone. I do things for the one that created me. I do things for the Father. So what gives meaning to life and what will make your strength be renewed each day is when you connect with who created you. You cannot focus on anyone else other than the one that designed a purpose for your life. You didn't design a purpose for my life. My parents didn't design a purpose for my life. The presidents didn't design a purpose. Nobody has designed a purpose. The only one that designed a purpose for me was God the Father. Therefore, I owe myself to the one that designed me. I owe myself to the one that designed me. We cannot deviate from the only thing that gives meaning to our lives. I repeat, we have spent our whole lives stimulating our souls, becoming excited, in a lot of excitement and erotism, because that is the soulful piece and the human aspect. The carnal, the flesh, wants you to keep it excited. Because what we live is how I feel. And how do you feel? Oh, I feel bad. I feel good. Oh, let's go out because I'm bored. That is human beings. I just described a human being to you. Oh, I want to eat this. Oh, I want to eat that. Oh, I can't wait to have that. You see that they need to be excited. They want to buy, they want to consume. That's why the consumer spirit is what they live for. They do things because they want this, or they want that, or they want money, or they want another house, another car, because it's never enough. They're never going to accomplish and say, okay, I made it. Because at the end, I believe in you not being satisfied. But at the end, I'm not satisfied because I don't want to be here. That's why I'm not satisfied with being here. I am so not satisfied being here because it's because I work for the kingdom. That is why I constantly work, because I am not happy. It's not enough just being here, because what I'm doing is for eternity. And eternity teaches me that I have to invest my time on the kingdom, in the kingdom. And we focus so often, Luis says, on the passion that we feel when we need to focus on the Creator. Apostle says, okay, I'm going to give you some information. I am very ambitious, because the word says, seek the kingdom of heaven and His justice, which is what we do. And then everything else will be added on to you, which is what we have. Did you understand? Did you understand?
¿Entendió algo, hermano? ¿Entendió algo, amigo? Eso es todo, amigo.
You understand? I am seeking the kingdom of God and His justice. That is why the add-ons have to chase after me. I don't have to chase after anything or anyone. The one who sponsors me is God the Father. So people are chasing after creation and they do things so the boss can see them and seeking approval, a lot of manipulation, manipulating everything. And you see it in people of the kingdom. That's the sad part. Because those that don't know, it can be justified, but those that know, that's sad. That's sad. It's a shame for them to be wasting their time when they see that the time is zero time. It's zero time right now. That is why it's very clear. Very clear the word says who we need to do things for. One day we're going to be asked, what did you do with what I gave you? One day we're going to say, God, God. And He's going to say, depart from me, I don't know you. Doers of evil. And you might say, but what am I doing wrong? If I've never done anything wrong, that's the problem. I've never done anything. That was the problem. You never did anything. You never did anything because you didn't do and you didn't allow to be done. And that is perversion. It is worse those that are in and they don't do than those that are outside. You see that? So who do we do things for? Do we do them for the one who told us, I am the way, the truth, and the life? Nobody comes to the Father but by me. Those that are not doing it like that, they have a problem. You can know by now that you are not going anywhere. Those that don't give everything, significant others, goods, belongings, for His cause, don't get dressed because you're not coming. These are the biblical truths that you say, wow, that's true. The word says that. Yeah, the word says that. So we're playing games. We're playing games saying, yes, the word is good. I like the word. You know, I really like the word that you say. I don't care. I don't care. That's none of my business because the word is not there for you to like it. Actually, in the contrary, if you like it, that's a problem because the word is not to be liked. The word is for you to be sad, for you to be contrite, for you to be confronted, for you to cut, for it to bring change. And no change is simple. Every change is radical. Every change has a sacrifice and an effort attached to it. And the word says it. The word comes to discipline us. And the discipline is not pleasant at the beginning. And in the last point, conclusion, it says, the monologue says, we do things for God the Father, and we learn to grow through the experiences, the good ones and the painful ones. He allows us to select, to choose between good and evil. The Life Manual teaches us, place your mind in the things of above and not in the ones of the earth, because you have died and your life is hidden in Him.
Gracias por sintonizar nuestro podcast Misión GJ. Nos vemos en un próximo episodio.